Worship isn't about music, it's about Jesus. There's a guy by the name of Robert Smith. He was on a business trip and he decided to visit a church nearby. And he soon realized that their style of worship was totally different from what he was accustomed to, and quite honestly, he didn't really like it. And about the only thing he liked was the pastor's sermon. And so, sensing a common bond with the pastor, he thought that he would offer some free advice on how they could improve their worship. So afterwards, he walked up to the pastor and he shared with him some reasons why he didn't care for their style of worship. He went down the line. He thought the music was, too much of this and too little of that. He didn't like the way the stage was set up and so on and so forth. Well, finally, the pastor looked at him and said, "Mr. Smith, can I just ask you one question?" He said, "Well, okay, what's that?" He said, "Well, what was it that you think that the Lord didn't like?" And Mr. Smith was totally unprepared for that question. He thought for a moment and he said, "I don't suppose there was anything the Lord didn't like. I was talking about me." And then he stopped and he said, "But it really isn't about me, is it?" He got back to his hotel room and he thought about that encounter for a little while. And he said, I realized that the biggest thing that was wrong in that worship service was me and my critical spirit. And since that time of conviction, Robert Smith said, "I've never participated in a Christian worship service that I didn't like." Hebrews 12:28 says, "Let us be grateful and worship God in a way that will please Him." You see, real worship is not a matter of style, it's a matter of substance. And what matters most to God is not what it looks like or sounds like on the outside as much as what's taking place on the inside of the heart. And here's what a lot of us do. Most of us go into a worship service focused on ourselves and what we are going to get out of it. We come into church asking questions like, are they going to do the music that I like? Does this church have the look and feel that I think it ought to have? But what so many people don't realize is at that point, there's no way we can worship because our focus is on the wrong thing. And here's what I want you to understand. Worship is not primarily for what you can get out of it. Worship is primarily for what you can put into it and what God can get out of it. I have a little saying I often repeat with our church family, and it goes like this. The church is not about me. It's not about you. It's about Him, and it's about them. True worship is not a matter of feelings. It's a matter of focus. And in today's lesson, we're going to look at how genuine praise and worship can change your life. Let me share with you something that I've learned. When I get into a spiritual or emotional slump, it's usually because I've zoomed in on a problem. I'm fixating on something that is wrong, and I'm so focused on the wrong thing. But when you worship, you zoom out, and your focus and your mind's attention and your heart's affection is on God, and that begins to put your problems into its proper perspective. Worship is taking our eyes off of our external circumstances and refocusing on the big picture of what God is doing in your life. Sometimes I hear people say, "Well, I just don't feel like worshiping." No, we can't allow what's wrong with us to keep us from worshiping what's right about God. And what we're going to discover today is that we become what we worship. So start praising and worshiping God, and you'll become the person that God created you to be.